Okay, I have another question here. What are different ways to keep your skills sharp as a freelancer? For example, do you work on hobby projects? Do you do code reviews with other freelancers? Do you attend conferences? Uh, do you review other open source projects, etc.? Uh, yeah, so that's the question. Like, what are ways to keep your skills up to date and relevant and sharp? Okay, so yeah, when it comes to skills as a freelancer, you need a wide range of skills beyond just the technical. For example, you'll need skills in networking, marketing, sales, client management. Um, so you're going to need them all beyond just the technical skills. And the key to improving all of them, right, not just the technical skills, but all of them, is to keep working on projects. The more you work, the more experience you gain. The more experience you gain, hopefully you learn from your experience, and then that will naturally improve your skills. I think freelancers should really be able, a lot of things will be self-taught. Right? You're going to be thrown into environments where you see a lot of things that you don't normally see in a 9 to 5 type of company. Because in a bigger company where there are other employees, there will be other people wearing different hats, fulfilling roles that you aren't necessarily trained in. But as a freelancer, you're gonna have to improve your skills across the board to tackle every one of these obstacles. So, okay, so the key to improving your skills as a freelancer, technical, marketing, everything, is to keep working on projects. Keep picking projects that are increasing in complexity. As soon as you feel like you're ready for the next challenge, try to take on a project that's a little bit more ambitious. And along the way, a lot of these projects that you're working on, you're not going to, well, most of the time you're going to start working on projects that involve other team members. So other developers will be working with you, other designers, other marketers, project managers, business developers. You'll be working with other people, and that's your opportunity to learn from them as well. As you're collaborating, you get to take a look at the work that they've done. You can learn from it. You can ask them questions. There will be people who are more senior than you, ahead in the game, other contractors. You'd be able to ask them a lot of questions and learn from them as well. That's how I learned a lot of my software development skills. In fact, I learned more from my freelance projects than I did from my 9 to 5 type of job. Right? And that was the reason I went to get more freelance projects at night and on weekends, is because I felt my full-time job was moving too slow. It wasn't adequate in teaching me the things that I want to know and expediting my education and my professional development. Okay, so make it a priority to meet more people in all disciplines, and within the technical ones, meeting other technical freelancers, technical developers who are freelancers. When you're working with them on the same code, you'll be able to learn off of each other. There is something I want to mention. I wrote a note here. Right. Okay. So also, specific to, the person asked this question is a developer. He's been in development for about 2 or 3 years. So I know he specifically wants to know, how do you improve your skills, technical skills as a software developer? Because we all know within the technology sector, especially front-end development, right? Whether, JavaScript, CSS, HTML, front-end engineers, the technology that they have to learn is evolving very quickly. All right, so they have to always be on top of what the new technologies are. And I think the person who's asking this question is concerned that becoming a freelance developer, he's worried that he'll lose the opportunity to stay relevant, or to know what is the most relevant technology out there, or learn how to use them effectively. So I think as a freelancer, you don't have to worry about not knowing what is the next technology out there. As a freelancer, you're gonna be exposed to what's at the forefront of technology. In terms of becoming very proficient at it, at some of these new keeping your skills top notch. On top of meeting more freelance developers and learning from them, there's a few other things you can do. Is definitely explore some of the open source projects that are out there. Just download them, start playing with them on your own time, and then you'll see some good development. For some of them, they'll expose some good development practices in them. Another thing is make use of platforms like Stack Overflow or the Stack Exchange platform. Ask a lot of good questions. Read what other questions other people have asked about particular technologies and challenges they've had and how they've resolved it. So definitely do that. Another thing you should do is find some Slack channels that might be devoted to the technologies that you're interested in and take part in those conversations. There'll be a lot of really smart developers in those Slack channels. So I think those are some recommendations I would put forward in terms of improving your technical skills as a freelance software developer. Definitely attending things like hackathons and conferences. I prefer hackathons because there'll be several day events where you get to actually join a team, work with some other developers for 2 or 3 days, and you get to learn, start making some friends there. And over time, you'll be able to share projects with them and they'll be able to give you their insight on different development practices. And I think there's one more thing that you can consider is after a while, if you feel like another option you can consider is taking on these 1 or 2 month contract positions at bigger companies. Then every so often that could be good because you get to see what some big companies are doing in terms of what technologies they're using and how they're using it. There's also, I think there's one other thing I wanted to bring up. And if you were to kind of jump back to the beginning, how do you evaluate whether a freelancer's skills are, good or not? Technical skills are good and are not. You can measure it in 2 ways, right? So I have here, one way. So 2 ways. How do you define good skills as a developer? Is it the ability to, roll something out really fast and make a lot of money on a project, right? So your skills are so good that you can roll out a product really fast and then you have really good profit margins, something that you might be able to bill $5,000 for something that's only 2 or 3 hours worth of work, for example, right? Does that constitute as being really good at your skill, all right? Or does that constitute as good skills? Some people could say yes, some people could say no. For example, if I'm just hacking a few things together and it has no, let's say, let's say it doesn't really have much of a shelf life. It's going to break under a few conditions, but I don't anticipate those situations or corner cases to happen. The clients are completely happy with a product that I've rolled out, even though I know underneath the hood it's a completely crappy job. But the clients are happy. We all made lots of money, and the client has actually used it for the next 5 years or so, right? Without really making substantial changes to it. Is that considered good skill or not? Right? Now, there's another definition for good skills. Is the more traditional definition is you're just following the development trend. So whatever is trendy in the way you're doing development these days, maybe you're using this very popular state management thing in a very popular way within your React framework or something like that. So these are popular development trends, but they may not be relevant to your WordPress project, maybe, right? There's the idea that you could be following good development trends, but they might not be relevant to your project, and it causes budget overruns and all that stuff. So, it's good skills from a technical standpoint, but not necessarily good from, an architectural decision standpoint. As a senior engineer, senior software developer, you often have you have to decide when to cut corners, right? There's so many different ways to solve the same problem. An experienced developer knows the trade-offs for every architectural decision they make. So I think you have to kind of ask yourself what defines good skills. If you're just trying to focus on improving your skills in terms of understanding the popular development trends, you might not be able to do that as often as a freelance developer, right? There are all these new practices in terms of continuous delivery and deployment practices, all these different ways of doing QA and all these, new paradigms when it comes to unit testing and such. You may not be able to implement a lot of those, right? If you think those are what constitute good skills as a software developer, You may not have as many opportunities to do that as a freelancer unless you're very good at picking the projects and picking the right clients that offer you those opportunities, right? I think a lot of freelancers that have been in the game long enough, they'll define good skills as, sharp skills, good skills as being able to deliver a project in a way that makes the client really happy, but also for the freelancer to be able to make a lot of money, and to have a good profit margin on that and create a sustainable business relationship with those clients in the long run. And if you can do that, then they think of that as my technical skills are good enough, my technical skills as well as my other skills in management and sales and marketing, all of them come together, and therefore my skills are good enough to continue this business. All right, so you'll have to decide. You'll have to have that understanding of what sharp skills and good skills means.